Hey, amazing people! Max here. In this video, we'll explore two of the most enduring and terrifying encounters of military forces with giants. But why focus on military accounts in the first place? Soldiers are trained to stay focused under pressure and to report only what they actually see. Their reputation depends on accuracy and discipline. So, when they speak of encounters with something extraordinary, it demands attention. These are not people who gain anything from making things up. Our first account will bring us to an archipelagic state in the southwest Pacific Ocean, the Solomon Islands. During World War II, between 1942 and 1945, the state became a battlefield of brutal jungle warfare between Japanese and US forces. In a desperate attempt to halt the expansion of the Japanese Empire in the South Pacific, Americans landed in Guadalcanal. Here, it would take months of grueling battle before the Americans were able to finally take control of the island. But aside from the bloody battle, something mysterious happened behind the scenes. Japanese troops weren't just fighting enemy forces in the jungle. Some reports claim they came face to face with something far more frightening: towering humanoid figures reaching 10 to 15 feet in height. Even more disturbing, these creatures showed no fear of gunfire and did not retreat. Instead, they charged straight at entire units, as if bullets meant nothing to them. Panic spread quickly through the ranks as rifle fire failed to stop what was coming out of the trees. Aside from exhaustion from physical battle with Americans, fear from these ferocious creatures became unbearable. Rest became impossible. Night after night, the jungle echoed with the screams of wounded and dying soldiers as the giants returned again and again. Even more horrifying were accounts of their cannibalistic behavior, which planted terror deep in the hearts of the infantry. As expected, critics dismissed these accounts as nothing but hallucinations. Soldiers were exhausted, and as a result, they've come up with insane stories. But was this really the case? The sheer number of testimonies even reported by opposing sides seems to contradict these presumptions. How could so many witnesses describe the same beings in such similar ways? What gives these accounts even more weight is the testimony of the natives of the Solomon Islands themselves. For thousands of years, they have passed down oral traditions describing giants who once lived and may still live on their land. In some accounts, the giants are described as gentle and reclusive. They kept themselves in the deep wilderness, avoiding human contact at all costs. In others, they are feared as ruthless hunters. They lurked in the jungle and would go for a sudden attack. One of the most dedicated researchers to investigate these legends was Marius Boy Ryan, research director of the Solomon Anthropological Expedition Trust Board Incorporated. Based in Australia, Boy Ryan spent years living and working in the Solomon Islands as a helicopter pilot and engineer. In 2010, Boy Ryan published his book, Solomon Island Mysteries, which documented accounts from local villagers, including those shared by his own wife. According to his research, giants were not just legends. He concluded that some still lived on the islands, with many standing over 10 feet tall. He called them the Guadalcanal giants. These beings were described as having long, black, brown, or red hair, double eyebrows, red eyes, flat noses, and wide mouths. Their appearance alone was said to inspire fear. According to the legends, the Solomon Island giants are not solitary creatures. They are said to have their own social structures and may number in the thousands, still inhabiting the island of Guadalcanal today. They supposedly move through vast underground cave systems, allowing them to travel from one side of the island to the other without ever being seen in daylight. Hence, the account of troops' encounters with the giants remains until today, even if no physical proof has ever surfaced. The question remains, did giants really roam the jungles alongside soldiers during one of history's bloodiest conflicts? Our next account takes us to the mountains of Afghanistan, where one of the most famous encounters was reported. When we hear the name Afghanistan, we often associate it with the Taliban. But more than this militant group, this country has been subject also to tales about giants. This happened in 2002. According to the account, some U.S. Special Forces Operational Detachment Alpha was sent into the mountains outside Kandahar to search for a missing patrol. As they moved higher along a narrow trail, they began finding scattered gear and spent shell casings. This meant that something terrible happened on the site. Pressing forward, the team reached the mouth of a massive cave. More military equipment lay strewn across the ground, along with piles of bones. One soldier named Dan stepped forward to check the cave entrance. What happened next shocked everyone. A terrifying roar thundered out from inside the cave, filling the air as if something enormous had just been unleashed. A spear shot outward and struck Dan, lifting him off the ground. In an instant, the soldier became a casualty. What stepped out of the cave was beyond anything they had ever imagined. A towering humanoid nearly 13 feet tall emerged from the darkness, its flaming red hair and thick beard glowing in the light. In that moment, they understood they weren't facing an ordinary creature. They were staring at something they believed only existed in stories and films. They had encountered a giant. The soldiers opened fire with everything they had. For nearly 30 seconds, sustained gunfire poured into the giant before it finally collapsed. When they examined the body, the details became even more disturbing. The creature reportedly had 6 fingers and 6 toes, along with a double row of teeth. A Chinook helicopter was called in to extract both the fallen soldier and the massive body. The missing patrol was never located. The special forces were then sworn to secrecy and forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. No other details have emerged regarding this until several years later. In 2016, one researcher named Snopes contacted the U.S. Department of Defense about the so-called Kandahar giant, but they strongly denied this incident really happened. Later investigations found that the only soldier named Dan who died in Kandahar in 2002 was Sergeant First Class Daniel A. Romero, who was killed in a bomb blast along with 3 others. Was this just a coincidence or part of a massive effort to cover up? Tried as they may, but the Kandahar incident would not be the last strange report. Over the years, similar sightings began surfacing from other parts of Afghanistan. In 2008, an infantry soldier on observation post duty in Kunar province noticed what he believed was a group of Taliban fighters sitting around a fire through a prototype thermal scope. Then, the entire heat signature stood up and walked away as one towering shape. The soldier estimated the being to be at least 12 to 15 feet tall, with its head rising above the surrounding trees. A drone operator later claimed to have seen 3 giant figures in a remote northern village, standing around a fire. He said nearby livestock looked no bigger than cats beside them. Yet, despite their shocking nature, both incidents were reduced to nothing more than technical malfunctions. Although there is no official evidence, many troops have claimed that the presence of these beings was an open secret. It's something everyone had heard about, but no one was allowed to speak of. Pyramids are among the most breathtaking structures ever created. Their size, precision, and durability continue to puzzle the modern world. But the question remains, were they really built only by humans? Some believe otherwise. They argue that constructing such enormous monuments without advanced technology would have been impossible for ordinary people. To them, the massive pyramids are evidence that giants once walked the earth. These ancient wonders could only have been shaped by them. Civilizations separated by oceans and thousands of years, from Egypt and Iran to China, Mexico, and Cambodia, all built massive pyramid-like structures. Even more intriguing is that these same cultures share stories and depictions of giants. Some believe these societies may have once been in contact with one another, and that giants played a role in constructing these colossal monuments. Early missionaries in New Spain and historians of the colonial period recorded ancient traditions claiming that giants once lived in the land now known as Mexico. These beings were called the Kinametsin, a term in Mesoamerican mythology used to describe people of extraordinary height. Another site often linked to giants is Nan Madol, an astonishing megalithic complex on the island of Pohnpei in Micronesia. Nan Madol is built from enormous basalt stones, stacked like logs in a cabin, with walls rising as high as 58 feet and measuring up to 17 feet thick. Individual stones weigh between 5 and 50 tons, and researchers estimate that more than 750,000 tons of stone were used to build the city. The sheer scale of the labor required has led many to question how ancient people could have constructed it without advanced machinery. For generations, locals believed only giants could have moved such massive stones. After World War I, Japan took control of Pohnpei and began its own investigations of Nan Madol. According to surviving accounts, Japanese scientists discovered that the ruins extended far beyond what was visible on land. Beneath the ocean, they believed Nan Madol continued as an entire sunken city. There, they allegedly found massive platinum coffins on the seafloor. When opened, these coffins were said to contain the remains of giant humans, measuring up to 10 feet tall. Much of Japan's research in the region was lost during World War II, leaving only fragments of documentation behind. But the stories of what they uncovered persisted. Were the giants really the true architects of the ancient world? Did they help shape the pyramids and megalithic cities we still struggle to explain today? In the end, only time can tell if this will be proven with future discoveries. But what are your thoughts about giants? In the meantime, we think that you'll love this next video. As always, see you in the next one.